Namo Buddhaya, Namo Amitabha. Hello everyone. So today I'm in my new beautiful Buddha hall and I'd like to discuss a very important topic. This topic is important for all Buddhists universally, whether you're practicing Mahayana or Theravada, not only for all Buddhists universally, but also for all humanity, all beings. If one wants to live a happy life free from suffering, then one should try to cultivate the four states of minds. So the four states of minds are also called the four immeasurables, the four immeasurable minds, or in Chinese, 四无量心, which literally translated as the four immeasurable hearts. So what are the four immeasurable hearts? They are first, loving kindness, second, compassion, third, appreciative joy, and fourth, equanimity. They are called immeasurable because there is basically no limit as to how much you can practice them. If you can practice them to the extent of immeasurable, then you also have the mind of the Buddha, because the Buddha's mind is immeasurable. Our true mind, our true heart is also immeasurable, limitless, infinite light. So, according to the Metta Sutta, if one practices the four immeasurable minds, then one can attain rebirth in one of the Brahmā realms. Of course, as Pure Land practitioners, we like to attain rebirth in Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land. To cultivate the four immeasurable minds, combined with our nearful practice, can also help us attain a higher grade of rebirth to the Pure Land. It will also assist with our rebirth. So what are the four immeasurables? Let's look at them in detail. So first is loving kindness. So loving kindness in Pali means metta, and in Sanskrit means maitri. So the Metta Sutta, a lot of people are familiar with. To chant the Metta Sutta, to study the Metta Sutta is also a good way to cultivate loving kindness. Loving kindness basically means that you want all beings to be happy, all beings to be well, not just yourself to be happy, but also all others to be happy, because we all share the same Buddha nature. We are actually all one. We are all connected. So we don't just want ourselves to be happy, we also want all beings to be happy. To cultivate loving kindness is a good way to expand our mind, expand our heart. If you ever visit a Chinese temple in China, people will greet each other with Amituofo. So this is also a way of greeting and a way to cultivate loving kindness. When we say Amituofo to others, it's like we wish you infinite light, infinite life, infinite happiness, infinite peace, infinite bliss. So when we nearful, we are also radiating loving kindness to others. While it's easy to cultivate loving kindness to the people we love, it can be a bit challenging to cultivate loving kindness to people we dislike or those who have wronged us. So even to people who have wronged us, we should still cultivate loving kindness. Why is that? Because when we cultivate loving kindness, instead of holding hatred and grudges in our heart will also feel very good. Our mind will also feel good in the first place. So if we hold hatred, grudges, resentment towards others, first of all, our mind don't feel good. Our peace of mind has been taken away. That's why we should still cultivate loving kindness to even the so-called evil people, to people who have wronged us, because we know that in fact they also share the same Buddha nature like we do. We are actually all one. It's just due to ignorance, so they commit mistakes. And given that we are all ordinary people, we all commit mistakes in our lives. So we should learn to have a big heart, to cultivate forbearance, to cultivate loving kindness towards others, all beings, including those who have wronged us, because it's just so healthy for our mind. So Maitreya Bodhisattva, his name actually comes from the word Maitri, loving kindness. He's a Bodhisattva who is particularly renowned for his quality of loving kindness. When we can cultivate loving kindness towards others, towards all beings, we will feel very good within ourselves. It's extremely healthy for our mind. And second is compassion or Karuna. So compassion is just so important. I can't emphasize the importance of compassion, particularly for those who are practicing the Bodhisattva path. We discussed about before how if you are practicing the Bodhisattva path, the most important ingredient is bodhicitta. And how to actually give rise to bodhicitta. So what is bodhicitta? It's the mind that aspires for perfect enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. So in order to give rise to bodhicitta, one first needs to cultivate compassion. Without compassion, one cannot give rise to bodhicitta. So what is compassion? Compassion is that you don't want others to suffer. Not only that you don't want others to suffer, you also want to elevate suffering for others. So loving kindness is that you want others to be happy, and compassion is that you don't want others to suffer, and you also want to help others. So all bodhisattvas have the heart of compassion. Because they have compassion, so they can give rise to bodhicitta and eventually realize Buddhahood. So how to cultivate compassion? It is really to see that we all have the same Buddha nature. We are actually all one. We are all interconnected. So when we see others suffer, it's as if we are also suffering. That's why we don't want others suffer. And if you don't want others suffer, it also includes yourself. You also don't want yourself to suffer. So compassion for the self and others. So compassion is a good antidote for anger and cruelty. If you're someone who is prone to anger easily, then you should try to cultivate more compassion. So to adopt a plant-based diet, it's also a way to cultivate compassion. Like the Buddha told us in the Śūrangama Sūtra, how all the beings have been our past life parents, brothers, sisters, etc. And when we are consuming meat, it's as if we are eating maybe the flesh of our past life parents, brothers and sisters. So the Buddha initially permitted eating the three kinds of meat. That is the one that you did not see, hear, or suspect. It's killed specifically for you. So this is also the Buddha's skillful means. It's not like the Buddha doesn't know about the benefits of a plant-based diet, but he did not want to set the bar too high initially. I imagine if the Buddha said, to practice Buddhism, you have to be a vegetarian, then lots of people don't want to practice Buddhism. So that's why the Buddha gave this skillful means. But in the Mahayana Mahaparinirvana Sutra, before the Buddha entered parinirvana, the Buddha also told the Sangha not to eat meat. Because to eat meat is also to kill the seed of compassion. And particularly for those who are practicing the Bodhisattva path, if you have taken the Bodhisattva precepts from the Brahmajāla Sutra, we know that those who have taken the Bodhisattva precepts should refrain from eating meat. So this is just one way of cultivating compassion. There are also many other ways to cultivate compassion. Compassion is basically this genuine wish that you do not want to see others suffer, and you also want to help them. So to share the Dharma, to explain the Dharmas to others, it's also a way to cultivate compassion, because you don't want to see others suffer. So you want to share the Buddha's wisdom to others so they can also cultivate the path. The gift of the Dharma is the highest gift. Another important thing when we cultivate compassion is that it should be combined with wisdom, the wisdom of shunyata, emptiness, to try to perceive things as they are instead of getting too emotionally attached. Sometimes people can have a lot of compassion, but they don't have much wisdom. Then what happens is that they can be so attached and they tell others, oh, I'm so compassionate to you. Why do you treat me like this? And they can get quite upset or depressed. So this is compassion without wisdom. So when we cultivate compassion and also loving kindness to others, we also shouldn't be too attached as to how others might react or receive to our acts of compassion. And instead, we just simply perform the act without being too attached. This we will also discuss when we talk about the fourth element, equanimity. So in that way, we can also obtain peace of mind in ourselves. So it's very important that compassion should be cultivated along with wisdom. And when we kneel for Amitofo, Amitofo, we also want all beings to be free from suffering, to attain rebirth in Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land and transcend the cycle of reincarnation. So we are also radiating compassion when we practice Nyingpo. And if you cultivate compassion and you give rise to bodhicitta, according to the Visualization Sutra, those who give rise to bodhicitta, one can attain the highest grade of rebirth to the Pure Land. So I also hope all of you can attain the highest grade of rebirth to the Pure Land. And the third is appreciative joy, or sometimes called sympathetic joy or empathetic joy. I prefer the translation appreciative joy. It's basically to rejoice in others, people's success and achievements, to rejoice in the merit of others. So when we see others are maybe better than us or more successful than us, instead of getting jealous or envy of others' success, we should also try to rejoice in their success. And Buddha also told us from the sutra, when we're cultivating rejoicing, you see other people, they do good deeds, you rejoice in others' merit. You will also obtain some merit if your rejoicing is very sincere, it's genuine. So this is really like a win-win situation for us. Not only that, we don't have to be jealous and envy. These states are really not healthy for our mind, but also we can obtain others' merit when we just simply rejoice in others' merit. So when we kneel for Amitofo, Amitofo, we are also naturally rejoicing in others' merit. So the fourth element is equanimity. Equanimity in Chinese is 舍. 慈悲喜舍. So 舍 literally means to let go, to be non-attached. So when we cultivate the previous three, loving kindness, compassion, appreciative joy, we should also not to be attached. We should also try to let go, particularly how others might react or receive our actions. Why is that? Because attachment for the Four Noble Truths is the root of suffering. So we should try not to be attached. Externally, we should try not to be too attached to our material possessions, because all is impermanent. We cannot actually hold on to anything. So try not to be too attached. And internally, we should try not to be attached to our afflictions, of our worries, etc. Because all these are actually empty of inherent existence, which means that they don't have like a fixed nature attached to them. So if you have afflictions in your mind, just do not be attached to them, simply perceive them as they are, and to keep Nyingpo, Amitofo, Amitofo, and this can help you transform your afflictions from worries to Amitofo, to infinite light and life. And another aspect of equanimity is that we should try to treat all beings impartially. This is really not easy. So when we cultivate loving kindness, compassion, appreciative joy, we should not only cultivate this to our loved ones, our close ones, those that we have good relationship with, but really to all sentient beings. So that's what makes the states of mind immeasurable. And not only all sentient beings on earth, but also all sentient beings in all the 10 directions in the infinite cosmos. Can you see how immeasurable that your mind can expand if you cultivate in this way? And equanimity can be achieved through your meditation practice. So when we single-minded Nianfo, Amitofo, 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 to the extent that you begin to see everything, everyone as Amitofo, Amitofo, Amitofo all the time. This is also called Nianfo Samadhi. If you can only think of Amitofo and you see all beings, all things as Amitofo, then you are in Nianfo Samadhi. But most of us, maybe we cannot attain this high state. But if we can remember to recite Amitofo most of the time in our life, then you can also obtain a very high state of mind. You can be a very happy and blissful person, and you can really automatically cultivate loving kindness, compassion, appreciative joy, and obtain equanimity. So that's what's so good about this Nianfo practice. It's really simple and easy to implement in our daily life. Okay, so the 4 states of mind are extremely healthy for our mental health. And if all beings, or most beings in the world, can cultivate the 4 states of mind, particularly those in powers and position, then I trust this earth can be transformed into a pure land. Unfortunately, this is not the case yet, but we can also cultivate loving kindness, compassion, appreciative joy, and equanimity as much as possible in our daily life, and also practice Nianfo and vow to attain rebirth in Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land. There we can realize Buddhahood quickly, and we can also come back here or to other worlds to help all sentient beings to liberate from suffering. So may all beings be happy and free from suffering. Namo Amituofo.